Don't look! No peeking! Maude led Alicia slowly toward the bedroom door, fingers clasped over her eyes. She had practically locked Alicia in her room for the past few hours as she turned the living room upside down. Every once in a while, Maude would shout a little, "Not done yet!" when she'd think she'd hear the doorknob jingle slightly. But eventually, everything fell into its place. Little zaps of lightning zipped through Maude's arms, dancing on her fingertips. A wide smile plastered her face like a poster on a boardwalk. Ready? 1, 2, 3! The image came flooding into Alicia's view. Their living room had been completely transformed into the ultimate warm, cozy sleepover fantasy. A collection of plush pillows and cushions sat comfortably on the floor. Several blankets draped fashionably across the couch, all clearly soft to the touch. On the side, a small low table set up with snacks and drinks all prepared and ready to go. Fairy lights illuminated the scene in a dreamy haze. Maude squeezed Alicia's shoulders with a squeal. "Ooh, do you like it? Do you love it? And... Maude rushed past her, picking up a basket set neatly on the coffee table right beside a small projector. "This is for you!" The basket held a variety of items. A folded-up pair of soft silk pajamas, a matching eye mask, face masks, skincare, socks, and a lightly perfumed note that read, "Thanks for always being there. X. Maude." Vanilla wafted gently from the hand-signed card. Maude stood in front of her, a proud smile on her face as she folded her arms in her matching pink pajama set. Shorts, a tank top, and a long, dramatic robe. "So, what do you think?" Alicia could not even get a single word out beyond it, ogling the display in front of her, both the environment and the one who devised it. Slow blinks, a somewhat slack jaw, open-mouthed confusement and concern found on her face as she looked to the setup, to Maude, and to the setup again. The whole evening, Alicia had complained, or whined would be the better word. A lot of defeated lines like, "What are you doing?" and "Do we have to do all this?" and "Maude, how much longer is this gonna take?" But the chemical blonde party planner had stood resolute in her secrecy and stern in her refusals. Alicia was left to ponder, or rather fret, over what was to come. She had steeled herself, readied her heart for some accidentally hurtful gestures, but somehow she really didn't expect this of all things. "You did all this?" A stupid question, one with an obvious answer, but it was almost disbelief that drove her to ask it. The unspoken question that followed it was, why? But Alicia wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer, as it likely involved a lot of best friending. She took the basket looking over the pajamas and shot a quick look at Maude's respective set. Matching. God, why was everything this girl did so damn symbolic? She had to realize. "Augustine, if you wanted me to show more skin, you could have just asked. This is a lot of hoops to jump through just for some tummy action," she mused sarcastically, though the expression on her face made it clear that she was entirely saying it to shield her true emotions, her real reaction to the efforts on display. "So, what's the plan with this, den of hedonism, She chuckled lightly, finding the theatrics and exaggerated designs quite amusing in their extent. "What is the schedule, oh great den mother?" Maude's face flushed slightly, raising an eyebrow, walking toward the snack table as she flipped loose, silky vanilla curls off her shoulder. Where she found the time to fix her hair, she wasn't even sure herself. Maude magic? She amused herself to think that. There will be no hedonism here. I made this because I remember you told me that you never really got invited to sleepovers anymore when you were a kid, and I just thought... Maude turned around, looking as dramatic as she could be in her sheer fur-lined robe. That is the saddest thing I've ever heard in the history of forever. A small smile crept onto her face, warning to break character. I just couldn't let you go on living like that, so I made this. She gestured theatrically to the setup. And if you're wondering what we're going to be doing exactly, well, we're going to be doing cheesy Hallmark movie bingo. We're going to fill out these bingo cards with cheesy Hallmark movie cliches and then take a shot whenever we get one. She gestured to the pair of plain bingo cards planted on the coffee table next to some pens. We'll be taking a shot of whatever this is. Maude flourished a pitcher of mystery liquor, cherry red. I literally couldn't even tell you what's in here. I actually forgot. It might be liquid death. Who knows? Maude set the pitcher down, plopping herself on the plush setup. Go change! Go change! The saddest thing in the history of forever? Alicia repeated, mock offended. Well, maybe a little real offended. She cocked her hip to the side, squinting. Really now. I can think of a lot of historical sad things that trump it, Maude, but fine, I'll play ball, I guess. She pursed her lips in thought. Her eyes scanned the contents of the pitcher curiously. What could be in there? Some kind of toxic red cherry vodka? Some kind of mixed drink? Maybe a bottle of non-alcoholic grenadine Maude just plucked from the shelf because her criteria for alcohol was anything behind the bar? It was hard to say. Not even Alicia knew. And she had drunk a lot of alcohol in her time. She should, by all means, be an expert. She quirked an eyebrow before sighing dramatically, as if disappointed. A shot for every bingo, though? It's going to be a slow night at that rate. Wasn't bingo usually a slow game? And weren't movies usually long-form media? She didn't see how anything could fill a bingo sheet that quickly, but she was ready to entertain it. But, all right, you're the one throwing the sleepover. I will bow to your expertise. She did a dramatic bow, one foot crossed in front of the other, bending forward deeply with a hand on her chest. I shall retreat to my chambers to don the appropriate garb, my lady. She stuck her tongue out before heading back to her room and quickly closing the door behind her. Oh, God, what had she gotten herself into? Drinking? With Maude? In these pajamas? She covered her face with her hands. This had to be a nightmare. No, it was fine. She could do this. She would just have a fun, casual, friendly time watching romantic movies together entirely platonically. Girl stuff. Gal pal stuff. Just girly things. Best friends being best friends. She steeled herself and nodded, setting to the task of changing. Several minutes later, Alicia emerged again. She might have told herself all those things, but she couldn't help it. She had to make sure she at least smelled sort of good, and her hair had been such a mess lately, she needed to fix it. It had to look at least somewhat presentable, and her eyebrows had grown out way too far. She just had to trim them so she didn't look like some caveman, not to mention her toenails. Yikes. It was just basic sleepover preparations. Everyone was concerned about how good they looked at sleepovers, right? This was normal. Totally normal. She slowly stepped across the floor, dressed in the matching crop top and short set, sans the flowing robe. She hesitantly padded into Maude's line of vision and presented herself sheepishly. Ta-da! It, fits. She swallowed, a nervous smile on her face. When was the last time she felt this uncertain about the way she looked? What do you think? Maude waited patiently on the couch as Alicia disappeared behind her bedroom door. Her hands traced her knee, dipping with the intricacies of the bone beneath. She puckered her lips and thought, maybe the swirling in her stomach wasn't as strong as she thought. Was it really a good idea to have this sleepover when it felt as though Pandora's box was beginning to creak open? Though this wasn't about Maude. That she knew very well. This was about Alicia, and for her, whatever feelings may arise or die would lay beneath Maude's skin. She looked around at the setup. I should have used more fairy lights. Maybe I still have some left over. As Maude stood up, she was quickly met with the sound of Alicia's door opening. Her attention shot upward. Alicia stood in the well-fitting pajama set, hair fashionably tousled. Something about Alicia was glowing. Maybe it was just the light. Maybe it was just her. And something about that terrified Maude. Pandora's box trembled terribly beneath her ribs. Her face dusted a light pink. You look so cute! Maude led her closer, sitting her down on the couch beside her. You stay here, and this is yours. Maude handed her a red solo cup full of the mysterious red liquor. I couldn't find our shot glasses, so just, sip however much is a shot. Maude bit her lip, feeling incredibly unprepared. I should have planned this better. Ugh. Anyway, are you ready? Alicia stood tight-lipped in the moments after her appearance, worrying her fingers and feeling her organs dance the tango in anxiety of this one girl's opinion of her appearance. One girl. Something had absolutely changed about her. Something had broken the lock to the safe she had so carefully placed all of these old feelings inside of, and now they were flooding back in with nothing to distinguish them but a new coat of paint. It felt fragile, this moment. Like a single word would break it. But it didn't. As Maude's excitable compliment and her eager guidance pulled Alicia out of the overture of a thought much more daunting and set her down on the couch with a small bounce on the cushioned surface. She blinked as she was handed the solo cup and regained a little bit of her composure. A whole cup of pure liquor, Maude? Dangerous. Alicia grinned, looking up at the girl with a glimmer in her eyes that could spell disaster. Fun to know you haven't made this particular mistake yet. But sure, let's make a mistake. She brought the cup up to her nose, sniffing at the liquid experimentally. Hard to discern, but fruity? She scoffed at Maude's self-criticizing, making it quite obvious how good she was at rolling her eyes. Yes, I'm ready. I can't believe you did all this and still think you didn't go far enough. Sit your ass down, prom queen. It's just me here. Who are you trying to impress? Don't answer that, her gut begged, but for the life of her she couldn't figure out why. Maybe the question on its own was just a catalyst for too much disappointment. Dangerous questions like that should be avoided. Do you have a speech prepared or something, or are we playing bingo? She shot up her eyebrows in an almost insistent, questioning manner, and then raised the solo cup to Maude's. Cheers? Is it a crime that I want everything to be perfect? Maude pouted, adjusting herself on the sofa. She eyed Alicia's raised cup, choking down a laugh at the question of her own possible speech. I'm detail-oriented, but I'm not that detail-oriented. Maude rolled her eyes, clinking the 2 red solo cups together. Cheers. And with that, their Hallmark bingo movie night began. Each of them filled their bingo cards with the cheesiest displays of affection and overdone mediocre cliches. The night sent them tipsy-deep in giggles between every sip and every longing gaze from the main character. Their bingo cards had quickly begun to fill. They both agreed to watch a classic Hallmark Christmas movie, though the season could not be further from it. Still, with this agreement, their cards found themselves new stamps and new markings etched into the boxes. Eventually, Maude gave a triumphant cheer, raising her cup above her head victoriously. Bingo! Bingo! He just wrapped his arms around her to make the Christmas cookies! Maude held up her bingo card confidently, pointing to the clear diagonal line piercing through airport chase scene, dog runs into girl, and so on. Maude dissolved into a bundle of giggles, kicking her feet giddy, careful not to spill her drink. I win! I win! I win! I win! I win! Alicia threw her head back and groaned in defeat. Oh, this was so rigged. You picked the movies, so you definitely just gave yourself the best cards. She was a lot more outspoken than she had started the night, and as sips from the solo cup quickly became larger, Alicia's personality came bursting into the ballroom with all the flair and grace of a Victorian noble. If the Victorian noble had brought a wrecking ball crew. But fine, you win, she sighed, leaning her head against the couch cushion and looking up at the ceiling, squinting as the ceiling fan cut through the beams of light and cast shadows on the plaster. She sighed. I'm bored. Quickly, she sat up, turning herself 90 degrees towards Maude, arm resting on the back of the couch as she bounced a little, just to get the energy out as well as emphasize her point. Let's play a different game. Come on. We've already spent so long watching this cheesy stuff. I want to do something fun, like... She paused as she stopped to think, hand brought up to her face as she set her thumb against her lips, eventually parting them softly as she bit on her nail in consideration, then began to smile as she side-eyed Maude. Her fingers slid slowly back down her face as she puffed out her chest. Truth or Dare? Her favorite game. Or, well, it had been a while ago. Ever since the thing with Jessie, she hadn't dared touch it, but the mood felt right, the buzz of alcohol encouraging, and her mischief overflowing. She'd been cooped up for too long. She needed some shock factor in her life. Some action, some excitement, some scathing and embarrassing secrets. She awaited, clearly over-eager as she poured some more of what she had roughly pinpointed as some kind of fruit liquor into her cup. If you don't answer or refuse to do the dare, you drink, and you have to say that you're a coward. Truth or Dare? What was this, church camp? Maude raised an eyebrow, head tilted as she watched Alicia adjust herself on the couch. Her sheer, fur-lined robe hung lazily off one shoulder, nearly touching the ground. She hummed, lips puckered in thought. Fine, fine, fine. She fixed herself, letting the fizz of alcohol run bubbly beneath her cheeks as the swirl of vanilla from her hair became increasingly present to her. You go first, then. Satisfied, Alicia's excitement visibly bubbled up to the surface as she bared her teeth in an openly joyful smile. Alcohol tugged further at her lips than she had meant to show. Okay, truth or dare? She looked intently at her roommate, wiggling her head from side to side, as some kind of bird of paradise doing a threat or mating display. Maude narrowed her eyes, lips pursing in thought. It could be the red hair, but something about Alicia was always so devilish. Truth. All right, we're starting out safe then, she chuckled soundlessly. But oh, Maude, truth or dare with me is never safe. What's your most embarrassing hookup story? She perched her chin on her hands, an innocent smile on her permanently blush face from where the alcohol bit at her cheeks. The question seemed to throw Maude back into a time she had long not visited. She gave a laugh, head swinging back slightly. Where is your couth, Alicia? My God! She swirled the red solo cup, letting its contents slide across the plastic walls as she puckered her lips in thought. Well, I don't really have hookup stories because I don't really hook up with people, but... A sheepish smile grew on Maude's face as she hid herself behind the obnoxiously large cup. My ex-boyfriend's parents once walked in on us while he was trying to take off my bra. Giggles began to pour from Alicia with that revelation. It wasn't anything show-stopping, but it was a funny visual nonetheless. Couth? I don't know her. She made some kind of offhanded, limp-wristed flourish before continuing. Classic, though. Who hasn't had a good walk-in story? She nodded, seemingly as satisfied as she was going to get with that. Was he a baby about it? I've heard some real stupid blue ball stories from some girls. Eager. She was clearly starved for interaction after the past few weeks, and the alcohol had made her forget she wasn't supposed to be this obvious about it. Maude's face scrunched up at the memory. Told them that he was fixing my bra because I apparently have back problems. A laugh bursted from her, sending her reeling backwards as she held onto Alicia's forearm for support. I think he was more mortified than he was blue-balled. Pulling herself together, Maude caught her breath as she flaunted her unsipped drink. Now you. Truth or dare? Now here was Alicia's winning strategy. No one can know your secrets if you simply have no shame. Never pick truth. That's always the killer. Dare was the easy out every single time. Dare. Lay it on me. Brave girl, Maude clapped once. Okay, I dare you to... Her eyes wandered around the room, looking for any possible ideas. As her eyes landed on Alicia's phone, a wide smile grew on her lips that were now as red as cherry tomatoes. I dare you to call your most recent contact and tell them that you think you guys should hang out more, no matter who it is. It could be your Uber Eats driver for all I care. Maude smiled, tilting her head in mock thought. And I want you to sound like you really mean it. Alicia was refusing to acknowledge that being called a brave girl by Maude in that tone of voice did anything to her, but the blush on her face told otherwise. She patiently awaited her instructions before chuckling lightly and shrugging, pursing her lips. Okay. She picked up her phone and navigated to the contacts screen. She looked at her past calls and burst out laughing. It was short-lived, however, as she calmed herself down and through a smile said, Okay. Ready? She took a deep breath to center herself, and then pressed call. And no more than a second or two later, Maude's phone begins to make its telltale sounds of a call incoming. Alicia hummed, "Wonder who that is." Maude nodded, hand over her mouth as she tried to contain the giggles, watching as Alicia began to dial the number. Who could it possibly be? Her parents? Her classmates? Mona? Her Uber Eats driver? The possibilities were endless, and Maude... Ring, ring, ring. Her eyes widened, mouth falling open in a gasp. Oh my god. Another drunken laugh burst from her, butterflies fizzing up from her like a well-shaken soda. Oh my god, okay, hold on. Maude fixed her hair, clearing her throat before she picked up the phone, eyes still glued on Alicia. Hello? Alicia? Why are you calling so late? She grinned, lips still as red as cherries. A bashful smirk was glued on Alicia's face as the phone began to produce a tinier copy of Maude's voice. She twirled her hair theatrically. Oh, well, you see, she began, suppressing some giggles as she prepared her next sentence. I was just playing truth or dare with someone. You wouldn't know her. Kind of a dork, total perfectionist, real diva about oat milk. And it just made me think, like... She felt a surge of warmth build in her chest. This was fun. This had legitimately, so far, been fun. God. She had missed this. Wait. Had she? Had she ever had this? When has she ever been allowed to be this at ease around someone despite the circumstances? Maybe it was the alcohol talking, but in that same thought, the alcohol had control over her mind right now. Slowly, she put the phone down, holding it in her lap as she looked down for a moment, letting go of her hair and plucking at her fingers. We, should hang out more. Really. Alicia smiled softly, warmly, almost shy. But just as quick as it came, she shook her head and laughed. Okay, happy now? I did it. Not a coward, still undefeated. Your turn. Truth or dare? She seemed more than happy to move past this. At every word Alicia muttered through the phone, Maude's smile only grew wider and wider. She couldn't tell whether it was simply just mirroring, but she had herself begun twirling her hair between her fingers as well. Alicia's voice through the phone was something she'd heard before, but never like this. Never so close, and with those words. Maude's face felt warm like freshly baked pastries. Her stomach squirmed. Once Alicia had finally finished, Maude let out a giddy scream, clasping her hands to her ears dramatically. Ah! Oh my god, what a heartthrob! She continued to squeal, breaking out into another fit of laughs. Once she had regained herself, she finally sat straight, smiling at Alicia. Dare! Alicia preened proudly and wiggled from side to side, hand still in her lap. She was proud of that. That was well done. Oh, well, I am what they call in the business a total smoke show, so fair. She flipped her hair over her shoulder, then grinned. A dare that even Maude Augustine would refuse. I'm gonna make you drink, sweetheart. She tapped her chin a few times before getting up and dashing to the kitchen, hopping over a few pillows and stumbling to regain her balance as the alcohol caught up. She opened the fridge, taking out a Tupperware from the far back corner. With great clattering and rustling, she got a fork, a spare plastic bag, and smugly pranced back to the couch. I dare you, she held out the Tupperware, to eat a bite of the mystery leftovers. It's been there for like over a month, and someone has to find out what it is. Or was. You don't have to swallow, but you need to chew 3 times. She handed over the plastic bag, a mercy. Or you could always drink and call yourself a coward. Now where are you going? Maude let out a giggle, her head craning back to watch as Alicia pranced to the kitchen. You gonna make me something gross? But upon Alicia's return, the horrifying realization dawned on Maude. Her mouth fell open slightly in disbelief, a smile still plastered on as she watched Alicia explain the rules of the dare. You are a sick woman! You are so mean! Maude smacked Alicia's leg slightly, a playful pout on her lips. I'm not putting that near my mouth. I once ate rancid meat by mistake as a child, and it tasted the way nail polish smells. I'd rather drink my delicious drink, thank you very much. Maude took a big swig of her drink, actively pushing away the Tupperware container. And I'm a coward, blah 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 blah. Alicia did a fake, over-the-top villain chuckle, something along the lines of, She leaned forward, then made a presentational gesture at herself. And that, dear Maude, is why they call me the Queen of Dares. Always make people lose, never denied a dare. I'm just unbeatable. Clearly, she was feeling pretty proud of her ingenuity as she took the Tupperware and, with a smile, let it drop into its crinkly prison before tying the bag shut. Quarantine it is. Yeah, whatever. Maude smiled, adjusting herself once more on the sofa as she felt the last gulp of alcohol buzz against her fingertips. Stop messing around. Truth or dare? You know the answer, honey. Dare. Alicia quirked an eyebrow. And I want you to really try for this one. Of course she would pick dare again. Dare. Maude racked her brain for a good enough dare to stop Alicia dead in her tracks like a train in a blizzard. After what she had just proposed, it couldn't just be any other dare. It had to be something intense. Something that Maude knew she had no choice but to absolutely refuse and throw in the towel. She may have gone down, but she wasn't going down without a fight. Maude finally decided, adjusting herself to properly face Alicia. I dare you. A smirk was plastered against her face, all smug and proud. She flipped her hair off her shoulder, leaning slightly. To kiss me. Alicia's face dropped, all the giggles and smugness melting off her face like snow in the desert, shock freezing her features as she stayed completely still. It took her a solid few seconds to process what she'd just been dared to do. Kiss you? Like, what kind? She asked, with a nervous chuckle in an attempt to seem fine. She had to clarify. She had to. She couldn't afford to make any mistakes here. Not again. Like you mean it? Maude grinned, tilting her head. Checkmate. But if you're too coward to do it, she added in smugly, flipping her hair dramatically as she giggled slightly into the cup, feeling proud of herself. I understand if you just want to take that drink and call yourself chicken. Alicia's thoughts were getting jumbled. Maude wanted her to kiss her? Like she meant it? That was an invitation, right? Should she take it? She shouldn't. This was a bad idea. It would be so bad for her. She'd be stuck on it for weeks and weeks and weeks. It could ruin everything. For Maude, it might just be a fun kiss between friends, but for her, it would be everything she wanted. And that was bad, because she had an addictive personality, and this was not an addiction she could support. But she really wanted to. She had to take stock. Eyes glued to the solo cup, red liquid swirling around inside of it like blood, poured fresh from a wound. Should she drink? Should she chicken out? She looked back up at Maude, at her lips. All right, what were the facts? Pros and cons. Pro. There was a really pretty girl sitting in front of her. Con. She'd never like her like that. Pro. She just asked her to kiss her. Con. This was a bad idea. Pro. They were both drunk, and the night felt so soft and fleeting. This moment would not come again. Con. This moment could kill her. Pro. She was already leaning in. Con. Her lips were soft. Before she'd even realized it, she had leaned forward, hand on the side of Maude's face in an almost desperate attempt at keeping it there, as their lips collided in an explosion of warmth and pillowy comfort. She was trembling. Hell, she was shaking. But the tension in her limbs felt so distant. From here, she could smell Maude's perfume. Vanilla and strawberry, touched by alcohol and the warmth of bodies. She could feel her skin, and it was so much softer than expected. She could hear her breath, sense her movements, feel her pulse. Her lips tasted like liquor and cherry soda chapstick, and she kissed her like she meant it. Because she meant it. As sudden as it happened, Alicia pulled away again. Adrenaline and oxytocin waging war within her ears, thumping against the borders of her veins. She breathed quickly, rapidly, like a prey animal that just heard a gunshot. Like a hummingbird. Like a coward. She stared at the girl in front of her, and she felt it hit her like a bucket of ice water. Regret. Maude was so sure Alicia was going to refuse, to give Maude a knowing look with those furrowed brows of her and unwillingly take a sip of her red concoction. For some reason, that saddened her a little. Why exactly, she wasn't quite sure, until the moment she felt Alicia's lips pressing delicately into hers, her hand cradling her cheek like she was something to be gentle with. Maude's world froze for a minute. Maybe a few minutes, or a few hours, or a few days. She wouldn't have been able to tell either way, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to exactly. Before Maude had any chance to process the moment, eyes still wide open, she found Alicia's warmth disappearing from her as quickly as it arrived. Disappointment settled into her stomach. Maude's eyes searched Alicia for some kind of answer, not exactly from Alicia, but from herself. How could she answer the pounding in her chest and the flush on her cheek like a summer's secret lie beneath July moons? Maude's lips began to move. Alicia, It was in her eyes. In the way she furrowed her brow, in the way her lips parted, it was visible in everything. She had made the wrong decision. She shouldn't have done that. And now Maude knew, and things were never going to be the same again. She couldn't pretend like it was normal. They couldn't just brush this under the rug. This moment would be a monument, a colossal structure, never to leave sight, reading, "This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. What is here was dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger." Alicia's pupils darted around before her trembling jaw gave way to panicked speech. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. I just... It wasn't worth it. There was no explanation that could save her here. No excuse strong enough. I'm gonna go. She stood up, face red and eyes tight and pained, mist already gathering in their corners. Without even a moment's hesitation, she charged out of the room, throwing open the bathroom door and slamming it shut behind her. Her back pressed against the cold wood, sliding down slowly until her legs met the colder tiles. It was over. The tears welled up like a flash flood, ragged breaths and panicked grasping at her own chest as the reality set in. She'd done it again. She'd fallen in love with a girl that wouldn't love her back. Why did these reminders always have to be so painful? Maude could see it clearly, the panic beginning to settle in Alicia's features, carving out a home for itself. Her mind raced for something to say, anything to ease the tension building in Alicia's mind. But before she could even utter so much as a word, Alicia had taken it upon herself to leave. No! She tried to reach out to stop Alicia, but she was gone before she knew it, beelining towards the bathroom like it was an escape plan. Maude's eyes dropped to the floor, picking at her fingers. Was the dare too far? Did it dredge up old unwanted memories? Maude's stomach turned at the thought of it. Guilt riddled her chest, knowing her best friend stood only a couple feet away from her, melting into the bathroom floor. Best friend. Maude questioned whether that was even the most appropriate title for her right now. Someone who feels like butter and tastes like lightning couldn't appropriately be described as such. She could use other words, such as sweet, funny, annoying, soft. soft. Maude's fingertips grazed her lips. The ghost of Alicia's kiss lingered. Steadying herself, Maude made her way to the bathroom door. She took a breath. Alicia? Maude knocked quietly, one hand toying with the fur of her robe. Alicia, I'm really sorry if you thought I didn't want to. She sighed, rearranging her words. It's not that I didn't want to kiss you, or that I was only doing it for a dare, even though it was that at the start. Maude's face scrunched up, glowing pink in the night. But I do want to. It felt as though a bomb lay ticking in her ribcage, ready to burst at any moment. I do want to kiss you. Could you come out here, please? Careful sentences muffled against the door, pleas and pity clattering against the bathroom floor. It all just felt so pathetic to her. She needed to wrestle her voice into submission. She had to make sure that when she opened her mouth, anything legible would come out of it, instead of chainsaw sobs and saliva. She took a shaky breath in, attempting to mold herself into something functional, like a sculptor using clay with too much water, and called out. Her voice was shaky, and the tears were audible even from the other side of the door. Maude, please! Don't just say shit like that to try and be nice or save my ego or something. It's not making me feel better. Just leave me alone! That was all the legible sentences she could manage as the air became thin and her lungs ached for oxygen. Her midriff coiled up and squeezed, and she felt like she was going to vomit. She wouldn't, but currently, her body was going haywire. The sudden sound of Alicia's loud voice was a stark contrast to her bubble-drunk giggles from a few moments ago. Maude frowned, resting a hand on the doorknob. No! You! Her cheeks flushed, ears warming. Whether it was from the alcohol or the butterflies fluttering in her stomach, she wasn't quite sure. I'm not just saying anything for your ego. I'm asking you to come out here because What was she doing? Why was she standing here so passionate for this girl to come out? This girl who had been the thorn in her side for several months. Who had teased her, mocked her, and ridiculed her endlessly. Why now did she long to see the curves of her face, the dip and the space between her nose and lips, and the warm eyes that felt like coming home from a storm? Maude raised her head, determined on the door. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. Come out here so I can kiss you. Please. She added the last thing quickly, already red with embarrassment. Don't make me beg. Slowly, carefully, as if trying not to wake someone that's sleeping, the bathroom door creaked open. Alicia was stood on the other end, cheeks wet from tears and soft sniffles intermittently accenting her movement. The gap slowly opened further as Alicia stepped out and closed the door behind her again. Gently, as if sudden movements would mean certain death. With the door closed, signified by a soft click, she leaned her back against the door, looking down at her feet. Occasionally, a small tear still rolled down her cheek. A soft voice like cracked glass eventually broke the tension. "You can't mess with me like that. It's really cruel. You said to kiss you like I meant it, and I did, so..." She looked so guilty, like she'd done something wrong, or no, like she had lost something. Her head craned up, showing the tension twisting up her face, lips pouted and trembling. "So you can't hate me, okay? It's not... It's not..." Quickly, Maude rushed to her, face twisted in worry as she examined the girl. "I know, I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd react like this. I'm sorry." She reached up, wiping her eyes for any possible tears that might still sneak their way out. Maude's chest sank, seeing Alicia in such a state. It simply didn't fit her. "But..." she began gently, her voice as delicate as the first fallen snowflake. You know, I did mean it when I told you I wanted you to come out here to kiss me." She stepped a little closer, her face burning like a summer's bonfire. "I did mean that," Maude admitted softly, embarrassment still tangled up in her words. Her voice was quiet and gentle, as if afraid if she were any louder, the night would crumble right before her. She turned her eyes to the floor. "I won't hate you." The warmth of Maude's skin felt scorching as it touched hers, as it wiped away the tears on her sore cheeks. She breathed in deeply, lungs tremoring like earthquakes in her chest. Her heart beat in her throat, but that wasn't the panic. Even with the fear, the guilt, the pain, Maude being this near and being so caring, it made her ache. She looked up to Maude, questioning, eyes soft and glassy, trying to divine intent behind those words, trying to find the lie. She couldn't find it. "Really?" A question asked quietly, and the world weighed heavily on it. The words fell through the air like bricks and felt just as dense as they landed. She'd almost huffed out a chuckle in disbelief. "You want to kiss this? This teary, snotty, gross mess?" Alicia swallowed, still staring at Maude. She licked her lips nervously. I don't believe you." Staring, eyes drifting down to Maude's mouth, lingering there. She hadn't righted herself from leaning against the door, but with Maude stepping closer, room was beginning to run out. It wouldn't take much. "You're so dumb," was all Maude could let out before she found her hand swooping Alicia's face gently, pulling her into a desperate kiss. Girls feel different. That was something Alicia had told her a while back, and she certainly wasn't lying. As Maude pinned Alicia against the bathroom door, Lips pressed together in heated desperation, she found herself noting all the differences. How she smelled like mangoes, how she tasted like fruit and candy, how drowning herself further and further into this girl alone could get her drunk had she not already had some assistance. Blood rushed to Maude's face like a dam bursting, setting a blazing forest fire spreading from one ear to the other. Everything in its wake left a burning crimson. Her fingertips went numb, tangling themselves in Alicia's curls with no plans on ever coming out. As heated as the kiss began, it soon dissolved slightly into softer, gentler kisses, like Maude was trying to stamp herself over and over against Alicia. It was like standing on the beach, her feet in the slightly sun-warmed water, salt tingling against her skin, and then a wave hitting her head-on, sending her off her feet, tumbling, nearly drowning in the tumultuous warmth and violence. Her arms hung slack at first, as the kiss just overcame her, but quickly instinct took over and guided her hands to where they needed to be. Where they needed to be was on Maude. On her waist, her neck, her back, her head. She didn't know where to touch. Nowhere was enough. Nothing prevented her from slipping into kiss-crazy delirium. She felt gooey, she felt soft, she felt hot and weak and heavy, yet so very light. She felt like a contradiction. But Maude didn't care. She just kissed her and kissed her and kissed her, and every time it seemed like it slowed, she came back with renewed vigor. Vulnerable, quiet little sounds came from Alicia as the kisses softened, grew comforting, soothing, safe. She could live in these kisses. She could breathe them. She would never leave. She had to catch her breath, so she planted her forehead against Maude's and created a small gap as she gasped, drinking in the air as if she hadn't tasted it in hours. Her breathing had become slightly more stable, if a little worn, and she slowly pulled her head back as she looked at Maude, head pressed against the door, hair bunched up and spilling over her shoulders. Cherry tints airbrushed onto her face. Ears red hot, nose red hot, cheeks red hot. Eyes wide and needy. Lips parted. She didn't want it to end. More. Please, I need more. No, Maude whined quietly, feeling Alicia's warmth disappear for a moment. Her eyes fluttered open, taking in the view of Alicia like this. Red, panting, a little needy. Pandora's box had truly been opened. Chaos swirled inside her like a hurricane, with its eye only being found by plunging herself back into Alicia. Her eyes scanned Alicia's face as if trying to burn it into her memory. More. The request was heard loud and clear. Without hesitation, Maude took her by the hand, leading her back towards the setup. Gently, she laid herself back on the couch, pulling Alicia over her and plunging the two of them back into an earth-shattering kiss. The ground swayed beneath her, threatening to swallow Maude whole in this moment. A few noises escaped her without warning. Alicia was dizzying. More than that, She was intoxicating, like a spring breaks night on the roof under a full moon. She was coffee and candy and thunder and honey. Maude took Alicia's hand, resting it gently on her chest, brushing the hem of her tank top. "You can if you want," Maude breathed out between kisses. "I'd let you." A storm, that's what it reminded her of. Loud and turbulent and violent, but beautiful. You'd want to stand in it, just to feel the wind tear at your skin, just to be pelted with bullet-like rain, just to look up at the sky and stand in frightened awe of the terror that rends open the sky in flashes of white fire, in arching trees of destruction. A thin haze was pulled over everything, the chemicals in her mind and the alcohol in her blood blurring the edges of the world, but in the center of it all was Maude, crystal clear. This artwork, this force of nature, this nightmare, this woman under her, pulling her, kissing her, giving her permission. It was all but a command to Alicia's ears. For a moment, she seemed hesitant, almost as if looking at a meal too perfect to eat, too beautiful to slice into. Her eyes scanned across Maude, all of her, as if she was going somewhere, as if she'd never see her again. But eventually need took over. The body has no time for sentimentality. Alicia returned the kisses as a deft hand slipped its way under the fabrics to embrace all the parts of Maude that had until now been unexplored, forbidden, off limits for people like her. Months ago she hated her. It was phenomenal how that hate had turned now into such mind-bending amounts of passion. She wanted to push her hands through Maude's chest and climb inside. She couldn't be close enough. She couldn't get enough. Not enough. Never enough. Her kisses led her down Maude's jaw and began pressing into her neck. Hands full of her, lips against her skin. This must be what heaven felt like. This was the only prayer she'd ever commit to. A lot less wordy now. A lot less smug. For every flirtation Maude had surely taken note of, this version of Alicia was serious, drunk, desperate. She had been with so many girls, so many strangers, so why did it feel like she was starving? Alicia's hunger was extraordinary. Like an animal finding water in the wild, Maude watched as Alicia carved herself into her. Watched as Alicia made paths, traced trails, and turned corners, as if Maude's body was something she was coming home to. But Maude wouldn't mind. She wouldn't mind opening the door for Alicia every night, letting her sink herself into the dips of her. It would be the closest to heaven her fingers could touch. Maude let out small noises, calling out Alicia's name dreamily as she trailed the kisses down her neck. If Alicia were an artist, Maude was begging her to paint her red. Cover her with fire until she grows blue so that Alicia may find her way home to her. Maude gasped, her hand tugging a fistful of cherry red hair. "I want to try to." Struggling slightly, Maude managed to sit up, leaning against Alicia for a moment. Without another thought, she sank her face into the warmth of Alicia's neck, covering it with every kiss she could think of. I want to be greedy, she stated simply, lining Alicia's jaw in kisses. Making a questioning grunt at the sudden pull on her hair, removing her from her feeding ground like a leech from a limb, she blinked blearily at the shift in pace. You do? But she had little time to question as lightning shot up and down her spine and a sharp breath raced through her throat. Clearly the sensation had surprised her. She hadn't felt it in a while. A long, long while. She never let other girls touch her, really. She'd always preferred a pillow princess. Hands to themselves for the most part, not too ambitious, just let her do all the work. Let her lose herself in them and provide them this service. To her, others' touch had always felt like static electricity, charged and tense and filled with untapped energy. It always sent her body tumbling, overheating, losing control. She didn't like that, losing control. She didn't like being at the mercy of others. But with Maude's face buried in her neck, she felt herself gagged to silence, unable to let a refusal escape her lips. Maybe she wanted to know what it felt like. Maybe it would be okay if it was Maude. Maybe just for tonight. You can be greedy. Alicia stumbled over the words, in between small gasps and groans, swallowing hard as the fated words crossed her lips. I'll let you too if you want. You can touch me too. An invitation much larger than Maude could ever know. One more heavy than even Alicia herself could realize. A right so exclusive that most of the campus knew about it. Yet here she was, giving it freely to the girl who, once upon a time, was her enemy. Whilst Maude was busy acquainting herself with her neck, Alicia's hands almost moved on her own, pulling at the fabric, keeping her from having all of Maude. Those godless pieces of cloth keeping her from true vulnerability. She'd rid Maude of them, and maybe in kind, she'd let Maude unveil her too. Smiling into the kiss, Maude pressed on, leaving a trail of fire on every surface of Alicia's neck. I'd like that, Maude whispered, toying with Alicia's hair gently between her fingers. Very much. She stayed there for a moment, her own personal little slice of heaven, getting to have Alicia like this all to herself. She couldn't even wonder how many others she shared a similar moment with. It didn't matter. This one was Maude's, and it will be forever. But first, Maude rose from her neck. Her vanilla swirl hair lay tousled and floppy. I want you to touch me first. She sat up, pulling Alicia back over her gently as she slowly lowered herself against the couch once more. It is my first time with a girl, you know. A smirk spread across her face like a secret only the two of them shared. So you have to be real gentle with me. I'm a delicate lady, you know. This. Maude could stare at Alicia like this for hours. The red in her face and the hunger in her eyes. I'm just so inexperienced. You'll have to show me the ropes. Maude reached up, tucking a stray piece of hair behind Alicia's ear. For a moment, She leaned up slightly, her voice barely a whisper. So what do girls feel like? The whisper covered her arms in goosebumps, her body anticipating the impact of something awe-inspiring and terrible. The weight of something that would change everything, but instead, the weight was a pull. The impact was momentum, and it ended with her on top of Maude. Cute. It was all Alicia could think in that mind-muddling moment. The smirk, the teasing lilt to her voice, the witty little jokes. She was a little brat, but God, was she cute. Well, a small, crooked grin of her own finally adorned Alicia's face like jewelry, glittering and eye-catching. Her mind was transported back to that moment where Alicia had tried to illustrate what Jessie had failed to understand, what Maude had been deprived of, what she was owed. Now she had the chance to show her properly. Girls are like hot chocolate. She leaned down, beginning to plant soft kisses on Maude's lips, whilst intermittently stopping to speak. They're warm and rich and coat your tongue. They give you a sugar high. Her kisses began to trail downwards further and further, across neck, collarbones, ribs, focusing her attention on the chest for a while. They are tropical thunderstorms, humid, electric, all-encompassing and violent. She kissed and teased, found the buttons that needed pressing, the skin most needy, the spot most wanting. Girls are like the first sunny day of spring, fresh and relieving. The air around them smells like daffodils. Her hands traveled down, sticking under the hem of the shorts and further, slowly. Girls are empty cinemas with buttered popcorn. Girls are the sea, the beach, the sun. Girls are tequila. Girls are puppy breath. Girls are the feeling of your first kiss over and over and over. She looked Maude in the eyes again, half-lidded and captivated. Girls are people like me and people like you, with bodies soft and beautiful. Girls feel like this. Her point was made, and she accentuated it with curling fingers and gentle touch in the damp, dim-lit darkness, where all that mattered was this girl and her body and the sound she made. Alicia, 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 Alicia! Maude could spill that name across her lips 1,000,000 times over like honey, until it didn't matter, and until it mattered again. Anything to keep a part of Alicia within her forever, Maude wanted. She was so strong, yet so delicate, stamping heat across her body like sending 1,000 love letters, one after the other. All of her. Maude wanted all of her and didn't quite care whether it was selfish or greedy or both. Maude gasped at the sensation, letting her head fall back as soft, gentle sounds escaped her lips like sap slipping through fingers. The night carried on far better than Maude could have ever anticipated. She did not know how often limbs could get tangled so comfortably, but it was more than once. Heat simmered between them, crackling at the ends of their lips and surging through Maude's body several times. It was bliss. It was obvious why Alicia was so heavily sought after on campus. She knew how to make a girl feel like everything. And yet, thinking of this made Maude's chest ache. The image of Alicia tangled up in another girl's sheets as she called out for her. It was all wrong to her. Her greediness would bite her one day, she worried. The two ended up in a cuddle on the couch, Maude's face resting comfortably on Alicia's neck, one hand planted on the other side. "I want to give you more hickeys," Maude giggled, pressing a fresh one into the side. It added to the collection of already blooming flowers on Alicia's neck, like Maude's own personal garden. She raised her lips, suctioning to a new spot, wasting no time to mark her there. Alicia tiredly chuckled, then clicked her tongue against her teeth. "It's like they don't feed you or something." The haze had not lifted, but settled into a comfortable blanket. Instead of burning in her veins, the alcohol now simmered comfortably within her skin. She felt heavy. Her whole body did. Likely because Maude has done as promised and touched her. It was conflicting. Her body wanted it, needed it, and she was almost inclined to agree, but whenever that rush approached, whenever the earth threatened to wash away beneath her feet, when the angels began singing, no, screaming in her ear, the fear would creep in, and then take hold like a foreign conqueror. It clutched at her lungs and stomach, and everything in her screamed, "I cannot show her this. Not anyone. This ugly, unclean side of me." She didn't really know where it came from. She just knew it was there. That fear she shared a body with. And even a night as wonderful as this didn't shake it loose. But loving Maude and her body, that had been easy. Easier than most, actually. It hadn't been a distraction, it had been a gift, a blessing, a purpose. Why so eager to leave a mark, You getting revenge or something? Maude shook her head sleepily, examining her work with pride. "Nope," she stated simply. "I just want you to remember how I felt." A grin spread across her face full of mischief. Maude's body felt like a pile of sand fresh from the shore, ready to fall apart. Alicia had been sending lightning through her the whole night. Mixed with the alcohol, Maude was down for the count. She raised herself up slightly, propping herself up with her elbow. Carefully, she took a moment to look over Alicia's face. She leaned down, planting a few more kisses on Alicia's lips, all soft and gentle. No fire or hunger or thirst, just the quiet exchange of affection. Maude kissed like she was trying to whisper secrets only Alicia could hear. She hoped she could hear it, the screaming in her heart. She was far too tired now to say it herself. Maude hummed, getting a good look at Alicia. Her heart ached. "Why do I feel like you're gonna go away?" Maude mumbled, eyes flickering across her features hopelessly. Quietly, Maude settled herself back into Alicia, her head nestled in the crook of her neck. "Can you be here when I wake up?" Her voice was soft and pleading, as if she was holding onto Alicia's sleeve. The warmth of her thumb absent-mindedly tracing a circle on her cheek. Alicia chuckled at first at the sentiment, still melting a little from the kisses. Somehow they felt different from Maude, more fuzzy and strange in the best ways. "Go away? With these legs? Looking like a polka dot nightmare?" She joked because she hadn't figured it'd be serious, but with the next request she felt the doubt truly settle in. Was that a good idea? Should she stay? Why was she questioning it? Must be the alcohol. Yeah, no need to worry about it right now. But maybe she shouldn't promise anything. I mean, we live together, cutie. Where would I go? A clever deflection, but one that would hopefully suffice. Besides, would you really want to sleep here? On the couch? There's 2 perfectly good beds in this place, did you know? They'll even let us sleep in them. It's crazy. She put a gentle hand on the back of Maude's head, fingers snaking in between locks of hair and nails gently scratching at the scalp. You're right," Maude mumbled. She heaved herself up, scolding her head for its instant pounding as she did so. "Come here." With little disregard for her clothes, or lack thereof, she sleepily tugged Alicia back into her room. She crawled under the covers, wasting no time pulling Alicia in with her. Come here, come here, come here. I'm cold and lonely and I want to kiss you all over again." Maude giggled, planting a few other sleepy kisses on Alicia's lips like she couldn't possibly live without them. "But you stay here, okay?" She pouted, snuggling herself back against Alicia, letting the soft sheets engulf her in pillowy comfort. Why they didn't have sex on the bed was beyond her, but it didn't matter at this point. She had the answers now, and it laid right there beside her. A feisty 5'1" girl with fiery red hair and a smile that could shake the earth. Maude sighed in content, shoving her face into Alicia's neck. The weight of sleep slowly drifted upon her. "Good night," her breath whispered against one of her many hickeys. Crawling into Maude's bed felt a little surreal. It's not a landscape she'd ever figure herself to make her own, but here she was anyway, being heartily and nakedly invited to it. Not like she was any more clothed regardless. There was something about staying here that nagged at her, something that still ate at her mind, but she would deal with that in the morning. For now she was here, and she'd press a few soft, fluttering kisses on Maude's lips and cheeks as she settled into Maude's embrace. She had seen her coming undone several times tonight. Now she was here beside her, unraveled, whole, content and in her arms. It had been worth it in the end. If she had anything, she'd have this. She'd think about the details later, but for now, she had this. And in shared warmth and quiet embrace, she drifted off to sleep.